Hello, once more. Welcome to part 4 of Series 2 Beginners Tutorials series. We're going to crack on with where we left off with our funky little building by adding some frames. To do that, first just select our big building, and I forget that this is mirrored, so we only need to work on one side, and just select, double click, select these things, shift, double click, select both of those and press E and extrude them slightly on the Y. Okay, so for frames we will just shift A, add yourself a plane, and a plane always comes in like this, flat. So R to rotate on the X axis by 90 degrees, and then if we just bring that forward GY a bit more so we can see it, head into front view and isometric, and this means it's impossible to see any, we know there are windows and things, but there are no shadows from the front, which makes that really difficult. So in this menu here, under that drop down, you've got shadow, tick that. And now we can see what we're doing. So I'm going to bring this up on the Z axis, and I'm just going to scale it with S to make it frame width, and again Control A to apply the scale. One thing I haven't mentioned, I have a quick menu. By pressing Q, I have a lot of my regularly used commands here. If you want to start populating your quick menu, then whatever you want, if I wanted to apply scale, because applying scale is in my quick menu, when I press Control A and hover over scale, if you right click, and this applies to any menu item, you will have add. So if I wanted to add rotation to deltas, I don't even know what that means. If I right click that, add to quick favorites, and then it will appear in your Q menu. Okay, so I'm going to scale that on the Z straight up a little bit further than the frame. I'm just going to bring it down a bit as well, and again I'm going to apply my scale, so Control 8, remember that, but I'm going to do it with my quick menu. And at the moment there is no thickness whatsoever, so what we need to do is in your modifiers panel you can add solidify, and what this will do will give it depth. So in the solidify panel, under thickness, just shift left click, just give it a bit of thickness, like there you go, lovely. And then GY, I'm just going to bring it back so that it sits on the plane on the actual building, which will become our window pane. Okay, and rather than adding another one, we can just Control R in the middle of this one in edit mode, and then Control B again to give it a kind of squarey shape. And then if we select faces and then select that, oh yeah, there is no face, so excuse me. Press tab to go back into edit object mode, and then Control A to apply the solidify, because now we have geometry. So we want that face and we want that face, and if we, same trick, scale from the middle, E for extrude, S for scale, X, and we're going to plop it just a little bit too far there. Okay, that's frame 1. To get a frame down here, we actually, if we Alt D, so we're cloning this, and drop it, that might work, and we're just going to drop it into this as well, just on, because I don't want a shadow behind the pane, it needs to be inside the geometry. GY, there, that'll do it. And I'm going to scale that down a bit because it's too thick. And then what I'm going to do is tab into edit mode, Alt Z, select vertices, select them, and press SX. We're just scaling them apart from each other on the X, and select them, and then SZ to scale them apart on the Z. Too far. And if you Control click those, just deselect them, drop that. How's that look? It actually looks like a demonic upside down cross. So I'm going to select all of these and just move them GZ up on the Z to make it a bit more less. It's not a religious symbol. Just frame it. GX. I'm just going to centralize that. Yep. And then Alt D to clone and drop another one. There. How's that? What's happened up here? GZ. Oh, I know what I did. Right, I'll show you exactly what's happened here. When you, it's a good time to explain this. How many minutes am I on? 6. Sweet, good. Right, this is important. When, well, no, you remember, because I cloned these objects, I cloned from here to here, and then I edited this. The scaling was not a problem, but when you go into edit mode and edit the actual vertices and edges and faces, it will affect every single clone. So the scale's not been affected, as I say. So if I moved these, Alt Z, if I move these up here, as you can see, they're moving down there as well. So if you realize you've done that, and you've done it many times, what you can do is if you go onto your on the original frame, and then under objects, and then under relations, you've got make single user. So then object and data. So now this is no longer a clone. These are still clones, these two, but this one is now its own object. So I'm going to rejig that. I'm just going to head back into edit mode and X-ray, and I'm going to SX to draw them close together, bring these up. There's no reason really, I mean once they're inside it doesn't really matter, but I like to be thorough. SX and push. Okay, now we can see they're all fine. Okay, so that's 7 minutes. And the chimney, by the way, if you just head over to the chimney, tab into edit mode and just select that face and just press E, it should go straight down. If it doesn't, just press Z. I already had it, and just out there will do it, just a little bit, give it a bit of depth, you know. Alright, so 8 minutes. What's a good thing to do for the model? I know. We'll put our subdivision surface modifier on. First, we're going to apply our mirror, Control A. So now it's all one thing because we're not making any more changes to the actual physical thing. And then this is where you'll see what happens when we just drop a subdivision surface on top of the building. This happens. And it's stylized. Maybe someone wants that. If we put that up to 4 in the viewport, you know, it's like a pod house. But we're not going for that, are we? So let's just put that back down to 1 for now. And when we come back, we are going to discuss how we stop this from happening. Because as you remember, it's smoothing between vertices that haven't got any vertices between them. Hence why we get this little funny little house. So we'll come back and then we'll fix this in the next one. Until then, farewell.